What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful. Some very, very unfortunate news to relay right now. Tragic news. Triple H, Paul Levesque, has tweeted that Bray Wyatt has passed away. Obviously, this is still something very, very shocking. He said, just received a call from WWE Hall of Famer Mike Rotunda, also known as IRS, who informed us of the tragic news that our WWE family member for life, Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, unexpectedly passed earlier today. Our thoughts are with his family, and we ask that everyone respect their privacy at this time. So obviously, there's natural inquisition and things of that nature. But I will ask, if you are a subscriber of Fightful, if you are a viewer of what we do, please, I'm sure they will disclose that at a time in which is appropriate. Respect, obviously, their privacy, their wishes. They've got children. The man was only 36 years old and had a fan base so loyal and dedicated that a lot of it willed him back into WWE. So if you're here, you're in the comments or anything, let's not speculate on what happened. What we can do is provide you a little bit of detail, what we had reported earlier this year. Bray Wyatt was sidelined with an unfortunate illness in February that kept him out of WrestleMania, and it changed a whole lot of plans for WWE, for him, for several others. And it was downplayed a little bit at the time, but of late, Fightful had heard that things were getting better. And that's something that had been reiterated to us just on the phone from somebody we spoke to at WWE. It looked like things were improving. And then it was highlighted to me from people close to him that this illness that he did have, which, again, I cannot say definitively one way or another if it contributed to what has happened now, but I can tell you that it was career and life-threatening what he was battling. And he very badly wanted to get back to see his fans, people that loved him, the people that adored his work. We got people in the chat saying, can you confirm this is real? I spoke with WWE directly. Yes. Spoke with them directly, immediately. Anybody who has followed what we do know that I'm going to check with the family or with a company that employs them before I say anything like that. This is heartbreaking news. Obviously, we lost Brody Lee tragically and unfortunately a few years ago, and now tragically and unfortunately we have lost Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt. You all don't need to send super chats, but if you feel like it, I'm going to make sure they go to the family. I'm going to make sure they get donated to the family. Matthew McFadden says, my favorite wrestler of all time, got me back into it in late 2019. I was planning on staying up UK time on Saturday night, hoping he'd return. I hadn't heard of any discussions of a date of when he was planned to return. I know that September had been a soft target based on what I heard. However, the people that I talked to that were close to him hadn't heard of anything creative at that moment. So what's going through my head is when he was at Royal Rumble and he did the Mountain Dew pitch black match, which you can feel how you want to feel about that. But he was so happy to be back. He was so happy to be up there on that stage. He was so happy to be talking to people again, to let the world know, not just in the Bray Wyatt voice, which we had heard, and it was, it was a special return that he had, but in Wyndham Rotunda's voice as well is something that we got to hear. And you could tell, you saw that twinkle in his eye at that press conference. I encourage you guys to go back and look at it from Royal Rumble of this year. It sucks, man. I was told WWE will have some information shortly about how you can support JoJo and the family. I wish I really knew what to say. Obviously, he was such a unique, special talent that captured the heart of so many different people. Like the ability to not only capture the imagination of an audience, but I mean, we can say WWE didn't exactly handle his character well. They handled it pretty terribly. And still there were so many legions of people that were like, oh yeah, but what if they do this? Because he can pull that off, because he's talented enough to pull it off. He's creative enough to pull it off. He's special enough to pull it off. I was there live for the Fiend debut. It was unreal. And that return last year, ooh, that was special. Seeing that first Fiend entrance, I was like, okay, this is something different than what I've ever seen. Now, unfortunately, we got a lot of booking that followed, but I'll say this about people like Bray Wyatt, people like Wyndham Rotunda. We are very fortunate that they shared their talent with us, because anybody who has taken those bumps and done that type of travel will be quick to tell you it is unforgiving. It is it takes a toll on you. I mean, you open yourself up to injury, to sickness, to a lot of things, a whole lot of things. And he was taken far, far too young. And I'll say this, we are very fortunate to have so much of his life and career to relive as well, because he shared that with us. He shared that gift with us. He shared that talent with us, and a talent from such an incredible family. His grandfather, Blackjack Mulligan, his father, Mike Rotunda, of course, his uncles, Kendall and Barry Windham, and his brother, Bo Dallas, who had played the Uncle Howdy character and is under contract with WWE still, and his wife, JoJo. Man, I'm heartbroken right now. It is, and to clarify, I shouldn't say wife. I believe they were engaged, but again, just a reminder: please don't speculate while you're here and all that stuff. When we get information from the family or the company, we can talk about that then. But I don't want to, speculate on why he was taken from us when I don't know. Duckman says, I'm so heartbroken, not for me, but his family and friends. This is just awful. Spencer says, shocked. This sucks so much. Raghav says, absolutely love the man. A mind like no other in the business. My heart is quite heavy right now. This is for the family, if possible, like you mentioned. Yeah, anything we make on this show will go to the family. I will make sure of that. Daniel says, the worst day of my life. First, my grandfather passed away this morning, and now my favorite wrestler is gone, broken apart by this. Daniel, buddy, I am so sorry for your loss. I'm sorry. I appreciate you sharing this moment with us and being here with us, but we're so sorry for your loss, Daniel. Jared says, I wonder if he knew during that emotional promo. They never went all the way with them. You never know how to push them, or you never know, push them when they're hot. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm less concerned about the booking now, even though that is something, of course, we'll talk about in the coming weeks. But this is a horrible tragedy. This is just unbelievable. I mean, there's people that I just interacted with when, quite frankly, I'll say this, when in 2021, I think it was, whenever Bray Wyatt had been out for a little while, there were rumors that he had mental health issues, and Bray had someone deliver a message to me that said he wanted that information sort of kiboshed, because he said, of course, it sucks losing a friend, but that wasn't why he was sidelined or anything like that. And like the person that delivered that message to me had no idea that this happened. Found out through the Triple H tweet. So this is unfortunate all around. Thomas says, "Rest in peace, Bray. Hug Brody for all the Wyatt family fans who will miss you both." Yeah, man, that's two people out of a very special group that we saw. Like when the Wyatt family showed up, Lord Almighty, was that special? Was that different? It had those elements of Waylon Mercy. It had those elements of Deliverance, but it also had the creativity that you see from within Bray Wyatt, Brody Lee, Eric Rowan, and eventually Braun Strowman as well. And it was something so very special that we saw there. And man, go back and watch those Shield matches. Those are a good time. Memo Gutierrez says, as much as I didn't like the Pitch Black match, he's such a talented athlete. He's no longer suffering. He's with his brother Brody Lee now. Daniel says, thank you, Sean, doing this for the family. Charles Chat says, I'm in shock, sending prayers from the UK. James Stallings, thank you very much. Again, we're going to make sure this gets to the family. We don't want to profit off of something like this. Taylor says, Bray was one of my favorites. His entrance, his promo work was just gold. R.I.P. Bray Wyatt. There were so many of his promos that I looked at, and some of them like were so special, and his delivery was so unique. And there were some that catered specifically to his audience. Like he knew how to keep his audience very, very happy and very satisfied. So heartbroken, not for me, but for his family and friends. This is just awful, says Duckman. I think we read that one. This, yes, absolutely. Zach says, R.I.P. Bray, follow the buzzard. Parker says, what the hell happened? I'm heartbroken. I'm not speculating on that. That is for the family, the company, people close to him to release. That is not information that I'm interested in putting out there unless it's okayed by them. And if you're not okay with that, I get it. You can seek your news elsewhere, and that's fine, and I understand. Dragon Death Cab says, I remember watching him starting watching wrestling. Sorry, I'm all out of sorts right now, guys. Dragon Death Cab says, I remember starting watching wrestling again late 2018, 2019, and loved the Firefly Funhouse. Awful news for him and his family. R.I.P. Yeah, he brought a lot of people in. There's a whole lot of people that saw what he was doing and things were different for them. There are some people that really romanticize that mid-90s era or romanticize, the Papa Shango stuff or anything like that. And that brought them back. Terry Allen says, Broken Out in Love, always within my Amazon music. What a slapper that song was. What a fantastic theme song and a thing that will always identify with him. Ashton Tyler says, Bray, enjoy heaven, brother. We will miss you. We absolutely will miss you. Share your favorite Bray Wyatt moments, matches, anything like that. I would love to hear it. I've got a few more minutes before I've got to go, but obviously this will be discussed pretty heavily here over the next week or so. To me, the Shield, Bray Wyatt, 6-man was so good. They had incredible one on Elimination Chamber. They had an incredible one on Raw, but they had a great one on Main Event as well. Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan, January 2014. The Firefly Funhouse is obviously a very special thing. That was such a cool thing to see unfold. The Last Man Standing match they had in 2014 was really good as well. Oh, man. Izzy says, haven't been this shocked or in shock by a passing since Eddie. Flynn says, Bray brought the mythology back to wrestling. I don't got much, but $5 for my favorite wrestler. He did bring the lore back, right? Like that's the thing that everybody likes to talk about is he brought back the lore. Matt Hennessy says, heartbroken about Bray's loss. The one comfort is knowing that he's reunited with Brody. Everyone tell the people that matter that you love them. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Thoughts and prayers with the Bray family. One of a kind performer. Yes, of course, we send our love to the family, the friends, and just the huge number of fans that he had that were so special to him, and he was so special to them. Arithmetic says Bray was a moment maker, a unique brain. Joe Coughlin says, thoughts and prayers to his family. Absolutely heartbreaking. Can't remember the last time an active roster member passed. I mean, Brody Lee in AEW, unfortunately. But in WWE, Class Thoreau says, twice in the years I wasn't watching wrestling, I tuned back in to catch a show. When I first heard about Bray Wyatt and then for the Firefly Funhouse. Firefly Funhouse was so much fun. So much fun. Joel Wood says, look forward to Bray. His DLC with 2K23 was always the one I looked forward to the most. Always been a Wyatt fan. Wyatt, Harper, and Eddie, the last 20 years have all made me heartbroken. R.I.P. Shauna Walensky says, Bray was so creative and passionate about this business. Loved him. His promos were the best. Another one gone too soon. Prayers to his family. Spine on the Pine says, heartbroken. Here's 20 for the family. Thank you for the thoughtful coverage. Well, it's unfortunate that we need to cover things like this, but hopefully we can do it with tact and respect. And as I've always said, you could argue that some of the stuff that we report is nobody's business as well. But where I draw the line is personal information and stuff like this. This was WWE's news to put out there. It was their information to release, or the families. And I believe subsequently the circumstances surrounding it are theirs as well. Ashley says, R.I.P. Bray, 36 is way too young. Enjoy heaven, brother. We will miss you. Grapple Geekery says, absolutely devastating news. His debut as The Fiend is one of my favorite wrestling memories. He was an incredible talent, gone far too soon. Brokenhearted for everyone involved, says Evil Diva. Terry Allen Jr. says broken out. Oh, we read that one. But let's sort of wrap this up. This is going to be talked about again very, very heavily throughout the week, obviously. Tom Ray says, big love to one of a kind. 36 is no age. Mr. CJ Lilly, who has long been a Bray and Alexa supporter on this show. My thoughts are with you, my friend. Sending my love to you because I know this impacts you an awful lot. Says, what a tragedy. As you know, I love The Fiend and Alexa Bliss stuff. And now he's reunited with Brody, who he loves so much. R.I.P. Bray Wyatt. Brendan says, I didn't get interested in wrestling until 2013. Bray was a big reason why it intrigued me. R.I.P. I feel heartbroken for his loved ones. Max says, just awful. Hopefully people look after Eric Rowan. Ryan says, Bray is the reason I came back to wrestling after a long time. R.I.P. to the GOAT. Corey says, his first WWE Championship win at Elimination Chamber in 2017. Not the best run, but amazing for the first version of Bray to win a title. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Kim says, my son, almost 12, is going to be heartbroken. Bo loved Bray so much. The White Rabbit had him invested. Bray had fans of all ages. Think about how hot that QR code stuff was Oh my gosh. People loved that. Just absolutely loved it. Oh, man. Heartbroken about the Bray loss. The one comfort is knowing he's reunited with Brody. Everyone, tell the people that matter that you love him tomorrow. It ain't guaranteed. Thoughts and prayers. Bray's family and a one-of-a-kind performer. This really puts some trivial, petty bullshit in perspective, man. It really does. Just want you all to know I love you guys. I love everybody sitting here that is watching this, that is hurting right now. Man, there are people that, like, if you're not here, they're going to be affected by it, man. And that's not me implying like circumstances or anything. I'm just saying, like, 36 years old. Zach says Wyatt versus Bryan at the Rumble will always have a special place in my heart. Such a classic. Joe says Bray winning the title in Elimination Chamber. Chris says gone way too young. Sad that we never got to see the full creative genius unleashed, but sadder that his family had to endure this loss. Sean says maybe controversial. I prefer his early work in NXT compared to Fiend. Very sinister character from such a wonderful mind. R.I.P. D'Lo says, remember the Bray Wyatt send-off promo he did with the Wyatt family on NXT? Made me know he was too great. He will be remembered for a lifetime. Omar says, I'm glad I got to see Bray Wyatt wrestle. Can't believe it in my heart. Me too. One of those people I'll always feel fortunate that I got to see perform. King Penguin says, hope he wasn't in pain. R.I.P. you mad genius. We are going to wrap up the show as of now. A reminder, any of the super chats that we've got right here are going directly to the family. That Fightful is not going to keep any of this. Mex Collection says, my favorite is when Roman and Bray tag together. R.I.P. Oh my God, that moment with the spear and the spot over Bray. Jeez, man. Crew Kid said the first Raw I ever went to, 2019. Universal Champ The Fiend wrestled Seth Rollins in a dark match after the show. I was hooked immediately. Also, the Firefly Funhouse with Cena was an all-timer. Cody says, Bray Wyatt was the reason I got back into wrestling. R.I.P. I'll always have a special place in my heart for him. Let me hit slow mode right now. Matthew McFadden says, Fiend versus Bryan at Rumble 2020. Firefly Funhouse promo, Miss Teacher Lady versus the pandemic, the moment the 22 return. Cedric saw him win the title at Elimination Chamber. Alistair says, into wrestling in 2020 after a hiatus of 7 years. I've never known such a creative and intelligent person in wrestling. I rewatched everything I missed, and he was such a standout, good or bad, incredible man. We read some of these, I believe. Stefan says, absolutely gutted. He was so young and so gifted. Hug and kiss your loved ones. Tomorrow is never promised. Scott says, got to see him in his last match. Going to miss him. Like everyone, shocked and heartbroken for his family and friends like us. Briscoe Funk versus Brody Bray right now in heaven. James Hagan says, thoughts and prayers to his family. His creative thoughts and his character made it fun to watch. R.I.P. Bray. We got somebody saying wrestling lost another legendary figure. Rest in power, Bray. Robert Lyle says it takes a special talent to be able to pull off that Cena match during the pandemic and not have it seem hokey. Rest in peace, Bray. X-Ray says Jay Briscoe and Bray Wyatt in the same year. Two of my favorite wrestlers ever. Taking this hard, never going to forget. Matt says, I was at the house show the night after he won the title. The roster was clearly thrilled. An incredibly emotional show. And he main evented against Harper. So thankful and so devastated. And Brandon, thank you so much for this. How about this? Anything that you all have donated here tonight, I'm going to make sure that myself and Fightful matches as well for the family. It says, Bray Wyatt is the greatest mind in wrestling. A tragic loss. There aren't words. A complex, hugely entertaining man who had so much more to give. Love Fightful and what you do. Respect our community. The world lost a giant today. Well, Brandon, your desire to help the family certainly is reflected in what kind of person you are. Kate says, you always love you always, but on tough days like this especially. Rest in peace, Bray. Thank you, Kate. Mr. CJ Lilly says, I also love the influence he had over Alexa's career. I hope the fans let her if she wants to give him a tribute or something. I'm sure. Tribute show Friday. I would imagine so. Yeah. Brian says, having Vince Puppet swearing at WrestleMania is just a one moment in an iconic career that has ended too soon. R.I.P. Bray. Hope Bray gets reborn into a Firefly. R.I.P. Punk, thank you for this. Adam Weller says, one of the main things that returned me to regular viewing in 2014 when a friend brought me back to wrestling. Horrible. Maddie Graham says, Bray is to my son like Stone Cold The Rock. To me, the reason I love wrestling. Yeah, absolutely. He brought in a ton of fans. David Church says, remember his Raw debut and the videos of the family at the compound. His promo in the rocking chair had me hooked instantly. Groundbreaking from day one. They did a lot of groundbreaking stuff with him. A lot of stuff that is going to be mimicked, imitated, emulated for decades to come. Orlando says, Sean, thank you for this stream. It's like a place we can mourn together. Prayers to his family and friends. I'm gutted. I was in MSG for his first match back. It was awesome. Spine on the Pine said another 20 for the matching donation. Class move. I always remember his funhouse as one of the most innovative things in wrestling. I am beyond shocked, upset, angry, and confused. My first wrestler is gone way too soon. My thoughts go out to his family, friends, and fans. John says, R.I.P. Bray, this one really hurts. And Terminal Bliss says the anticipation of what came next was unmatched. David James Power says, absolutely heartbroken. Versus Brian at the Rumble and the Firefly Funhouse are some of my favorites of all time. King C20 says, R.I.P. Bray, this doesn't feel real. Fastlane, Bray was a creative genius. He will be missed. He will be. Christopher Rock says, gone too soon. You never know how much you love someone until they're gone. Absolutely, man. Again, it really puts in perspective, how just minuscule some things are in the world when stuff like this happens. And Mr. Higglesby says, R.I.P. Bray was my favorite character. Any of his personas, LA Knight being his last match will always be remembered. Here's hoping for a tribute show. Guys, I hope if I've missed any of these, I'm sorry. Let me know, and I'll try to get them for this weekend or something like that. But I will have to probably cut them off right here. But again, all these donations are not only going to go to the family, I'm going to make sure that myself and Fightful match these as well. Takes a special talent to be able to pull off that Cena match during the pandemic and not have it seem hokey. Rest in peace, Bray. John Russell says, Bray got me back into wrestling after falling out of love with it. To say I'm heartbroken is an understatement. Joel Wood says, I was in Atlanta last December for one of his first matches back at a house show. The reaction he got was the loudest of the night. It was unreal. Derek May says, just wow, another one gone. Too young. And Terry. Thomas says, thank you for the match of these super chats. No words. Absolute shock. All thoughts right now with his family. Way too soon. H. King echoes that sentiment and says, way too soon. One of my favorite characters in wrestling. Sad day. This one hurts as much as Jay Briscoe. Adam says, Hall of Fame this year. Deserves that. Yes, he does. The Razorback, Bray Wyatt, you're the voice of one of us who felt outcast, ignored, or forgotten by society. As an Arkansas guy, seeing someone from my region lighting up in the big scene was a wonderful experience. I'll miss you. D'Souza says, we'll miss them, or miss Wyndham, forever a fan. Darren says, he never worked AEW, but he's still done so much for the business and creative. I hope they acknowledge him in some form or another on Sunday. I'm sure they will. Or before then. Miguel says, always related well with Bray's promos, having grown up being told I would never amount to anything. Bray will always be legendary for me. R.I.P. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up right here. Johnny says, terrible week for wrestling this week ahead of a big pay-per-view. Hope they do a tribute. Absolutely gutted. R.I.P. Chris says, I can't believe this happened. Hopefully he's tagging with Brody against Funk and Briscoe. Austin says, thank you for everything, Bray. God bless you and your family. Prayers to them. Remember, these are people who need to be cared for and checked on as well. John C. says, devastated. Wyndham Rotunda, a.k.a. Bray Wyatt, is gone too soon, but never forgotten. The best performer in character. The Fiend since The Undertaker's Rest in Power. I'm actually headed in moments to The Undertaker's show. I asked WWE if they were going to cancel it, and they said, if anything, he's going to say something about Bray by the looks of it. So I'll relay to you what that is. But I mean, this is a guy who quite literally endorsed Bray on television. Michael says, just devastating, creative genius, and one of the purest people in the industry. Live each day to the fullest. John says, Bray got me back into wrestling after falling out of love with it. To say I'm heartbroken is understatement. I believe I've gotten these. I believe I've gotten to these. Zach says, R.I.P. Bray, and Lil Val says, such a sad day. Started watching when he came back, and his promos meant so much to me. Again, that was a sentiment echoed heavily. Guys, I know this is it's a heartbreaking day. It's a heartbreaking week. I want to thank you all for sharing this time with me and sharing your memories with Bray or of Bray. We've raised over $1,000 for the family. I'm going to make sure that Fightful matches that. We are not going to keep any of this. So I just want to say thank you for everybody who did donate. And we send our love to the family and everybody affected by this. Love you guys. We're out.